So one of the things you notice in Australia is when you're dealing with Yanks, there's the Australian dictionary that's for the Yanks overseas and the people overseas, so that they think they know what the Australian language sounds like. But a lot of that stuff is based on stereotypes about diggers from World War One, right? So let's work on that one for a minute, okay? Let's gonna go over here. Just had a nice burger with the lot and got some chips in butcher's paper. Now that's a bit of an Australian stereotype right there. Okay, so let's try that one. Let's light up the ciggy afterwards. After dinner ciggy. Right. So here's what you're told overseas Australian sounds like. Australians eat tucker with their cobbers and their mates. And they, tie their kangaroo down sport. And, because she'll be right. And obviously, they put some snags on the barbie. All right? That's the kind of stuff you're probably accustomed to. Here's some true features of a lot of Australian dialects that you're probably not familiar with. A statement and question has a different pitch at the end of the sentence compared to other English dialects. So when an Australian makes a statement, it could sound like a question to speakers of other English dialects, so American or UK, for example. It's definitely the opposite to South African versions of English. Other thing is, people don't say the word tucker. So there's been an update to the Strine lexicon in the 1990s that you need to be aware of. Okay, so considering a lot of overseas attitudes about Australia about from 100 years ago, we'll update it and make it about 40 years ago, or 30 years ago. So people don't have cobbers. They don't eat tucker. They might have some grub. They definitely have mates. Okay, here's a sentence. Hear this sentence and see if you can comprehend it. My mate and I were sitting under the coolabah tree when a drop bear fell on her head, and nearly lost me fucking snare because it was fucking hanging out the fucking mouth. Couldn't fucking believe it. And honest to goodness, it felt like a fucking faggot, like having a fucking having a fucking durry on a Sunday afternoon. Right? Do you know what that phrase means? Well, let's pass that, okay? So it's not probably remember what was said, but a coolabah tree is a type of gum tree, okay? That part you can figure out. A mate is a friend. You could probably figure that out too. A snag is a sausage. A faggot is not a bundle of sticks. A faggot is a since the 90s, it's not popular anymore. It's more from the 1970s. It's a derogatory word for a gay man. A drop pair is an invented marsupial that is used to scare off terrorists, which would be you guys from overseas. And a durry, well, a durry is an interesting word. Usually this is a durry, okay? Usually this is a durry, you fucking bogan, okay? So, look, you stupid fucking bogan, okay? This is a durry, okay? In some dialects of Strine, in some other dialects of Strine, what a faggot does with another faggot would qualify as a durry. Particularly with his snag. So, to the Aussies out there who understand what that phrase meant, yeah, you can get away with some crude stuff, eh? So here's a phrase that you might have heard in the 90s, okay? To understand where words come from, the style of Strine hasn't really changed. The words have, okay, so the style is still there. So this idea of contracting words is a big thing. So when you wag school with your mates after fifth period, you go down to the park with some goon, and a packet of holidays because you can't afford Winnie Blues. Okay, right? Okay, so that means that some people are truanting from high school, and they're planning on um, spending, instead of being at high school, they're planning on getting drunk on a type of cask wine. So there's a box wine with a bag in it. That's called goon. And holidays were in those days the cheapest brand of cigarettes you can get other than Horizons. They're not cheap anymore. You used to be able to get a 50 pack for like $15 or $10 back in the 90s. Nowadays they're $60 or $70. And so Winnie Blues back in the 90s were a very popular brand of cigarette. Were more popular than holidays. So people usually preferred a packet of Winnie Blues over holidays. But typically, when a couple of friends got their pocket money together, they would probably be able to afford holidays rather than Winnie Blues. So the word goon. Now, why is cask wine called, with the bag in it, called goon or goon bag? Because you're gonna get drunk. You're gonna get drunk. If you drunk that whole thing, you'd be gone. You'd be goon. If you drunk that whole thing, you'd be goon. You'd be gone. Yeah, you'd be gone. You'd be gone. You'd be gone. Yeah, you'd be gone. You'd be drunk. You're off your head. You're gonna be goon, right? So that type of word might sound nonsensical to someone overseas, but gone, you're goon, you're gone, yeah. Goon bag, yeah. Origin handbag in the box, goon bag, right? Okay. So that was very popular amongst bogans in the 1990s. That and Jack Daniels, and so Jack Daniels, Winnie Blues, holidays, and goon bags down at the park when wagging school. Okay, was a common feature of bogan life. Now, the word bogan refers to a person of a plebeian or working class socioeconomic status, and originates apparently from Melbourne and became very popular as a term to refer to people of working class status in the late 80s and early 90s through a TV show called The Comedy Company, and was very much popularised by the character Kylie Mole. She picks her nose. Okay, so anyway, the word mole, there's two variations of the word mole. So there's M-O-L-E, she's a mole, okay, which is a derogatory word towards a woman referring to her being likely to be being promiscuous. And the word M-U-L-L or mull, which sounds similar but isn't the same, which refers to a mixture of marijuana and tobacco, okay, also known as mull mix. So when you wag school after fifth period, you might have some mull mix down at the park, someone might bring some bud, and you just mix it up with some chopped up with some holidays or something like that, right? And you sit there having some goon, So or if you're doing really flash, some Jack Daniels. So and you listen to Metallica, of course. And it has to be Master of Puppets. Definitely has to be Master of Puppets, and maybe a bit of The Offspring or something like that. So very briefly it would have been some Silverchair, like very briefly, yeah, maybe, yeah, but it definitely would have been Metallica's Master of Puppets, yeah, and The Offspring, absolutely. Talking about the 90s, definitely, right, and so you don't want to bring your friend's sister because she's a bit of a mole, yeah, okay, but she's good for bringing the bud so you can have mole mix. So usually she's allowed to show up, yeah, a bit like that, yeah. But anyway, she's kind of cool. Her friend works down at the friend works down at the CD store. You know. Oh yeah. Vanity. Yeah. Yeah. She got a part-time job down at Vanity. So we heard she's been burning some copies in the back room, and her boss hasn't found out yet. Oh yeah, she's selling for half price, mates rates and stuff like that. Yeah, but do you know what mates rates means? Mates rates means a discount, so cheaper than the store price. Okay, it's cheaper than store price, but not as cheap as a 5 finger discount. Right, okay, right. What's a 5 finger discount? Well, it's definitely getting it for free, but you could get in trouble for it. Yeah. Okay, right. So that type of language, right? Okay, that doesn't have that sort of John Williamson, Henry Lawson type of Akuba and dungarees type of World War II deer type language to it. It's very working class, likely urban type language, or urbane. Yeah, suburban is more accurate. So in the growing suburban areas of the major cities in Australia, post 1970s, flocked to the cities. So there was a big flock to the cities from the inland places in the late 70s and early 80s. And so there was by the time you get to the 1990s, there was a rather substantial teenage population who'd grown up in a diet of comedy company and Kylie Mole, and thought she was fucking hilarious. Yeah. And of course, Master of Puppets by Metallica, and all that type of music and that sort of thing. So sometimes people wag school and they went to the park and they had some goon and some durries. Usually it was these type of durries though. Technically, Kylie's status as a mole is a bit, made up. It's actually gossip or a rumour. She's actually a bit of alright, but she's not like that, Yeah. Okay, so type of responses. Okay, that's also a part of a Australian way of saying a statement acknowledged. So it's not necessarily agreeing so much as acknowledgement. It could be agreeing. It probably was in that case. Nonetheless, it's acknowledgement. So there you have it. If you come to Australia, you probably won't find goon these days, but if you do, you'll become a 90s throwback. You won't have a mullet though. That's an 80s throwback. Yeah. Okay. And don't forget your flannel, your wife beater, your soup strainer, and your thongs. Okay. Now, none of those things mean what they sound like, Americans or terrorists. What does it mean? A flannel's a flannelette shirt. Yeah. Okay. What's a wife? A wife beater is a singlet. Yeah. Yeah. The type of shirt. Yeah. What's a pair of thongs? Oh, it's definitely not a G-string. That's what the Americans think it is. Yeah. Nah, thongs are what you wear on your feet. They call them flip-flops, don't they? Yeah. Okay. So, yeah. In Australia, we don't say tucker. Not anymore. And we don't say cobber. But we do call you terrorists because it's a play on words for tourists. So have a nice day. You won't actually be, buried in the desert like Wolf Creek. Well, you're less likely to than the USA because Australia technically has less serial killers. Have a nice day.